king. When the red, red robin comes bobbing along, there'll be no more sobbing when he starts throbbing his own sweet song. Wake up, you sleepyheads, get up, get out of bed, cheer up, the sun is red, live, love, laugh and be happy.
Hello and welcome to the Robin Pod Weekly, which is of course powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre, the only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Joining me for this week's Robin Pod is an old favourite, as I welcome back a former Robin Pod co-host, Joe Appleyard, for another bump edition of the Robin Pod Weekly. Joe, it's been a while since you've been on the Robin Pod. Of course, you're one of the busiest man in the world. It's great to have you back on. How are you keeping? How are you doing?
Yeah, really good, mate. Obviously, caught up with you, didn't I, at the Leeds game, and be good to catch up and do this again. So it's always a pleasure to be back on, and obviously we've got a lot of positives to discuss. Another bumper show. So yeah, great to be back on the airwaves with you.
Yeah, it's funny, Joe, because you say we caught up. You helped me work out the automatic pint dispenser in the East Stand, which I think, if I'm honest, is a great addition to Craven Park.
It is, and I'm quite glad because everyone drinks Madry and ours just went straight in the queue for the Guinness. And you know what? Obviously, I'm not one of them weirdos who thinks Guinness has to be poured from Dublin and everything like that. It's quite a decent pint. So, yeah, absolutely buzzing with that addition. And it's nice that everyone's choosing Madry, so I get to skip the queue.
Yeah, to be fair, mate, it's probably one of the best signings of the last couple of years, if I'm honest. Joe, I'm great to be joining you right now, especially for people listening on YouTube. I've had a traumatic couple of hours. My youngest lad, 3 years old, Gorgeous George, he invited his friend round. He came to play. His mum left him. And then I heard the words, I need the toilet, I need the toilet. Now, at that age, they're half trained, I think, semi-trained. And I've got no problem with changing my lad's nappies. I've done it since I was born, blah, blah, blah. And then when I went up there, it was like, have you seen the advert, the nappy advert, when they say it's the Poon Army?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I was wiping it off the legs, the hands, the pants, and he wasn't even a man. And that was the worst.
That is horrendous.
So, do you know what? This is like relief now. This is absolutely what I needed because I've been traumatized for the last hour or so.
Well, you've cleaned up a lot of poo, and now we get to talk it for an hour.
Yeah, well, normally, Joe, when we sat at the Robin Pod, we was talking about a lot of shit, weren't we? To be honest.
Yeah, we was. Don't remind me. There was some tough reviews, weren't they?
Yeah. Well, we're on to bigger and better things now, which is fantastic. Let's start with the Leeds game because, of course, the Robins secured second spot in Super League, the highest ever Super League finish. It was a bit of a funny game, wasn't it? Because we knew after the Wigan-Salford game and that we weren't playing for the League Leaders Shield. And, of course, we had a few injuries in the game. And it sort of panned out into a bit of a funny game. I think, ultimately, the Robins, come the second half, weren't, in control of the game. But it was a bit of a funny one for me. The first half, Leeds were good. Sort of did a bit, showed what they probably could do under Brad Arthur next season. Ultimately, the Robins came back in control. But I don't know, it just felt a bit strange to me, that game.
I think it was one of them games that we've seen so many times this season where, especially in the middle part of the season, didn't we, where we weren't really starting strong. But when we do click, we're going to beat these teams. And yeah, it was very flat. It was a very flat on and off the field performance, I thought. To say it was our highest ever Super League finish and we've guaranteed a home semi, it did have a very pre-season feel. I mean, yeah, Leeds threw it about a bit. They needed to win, didn't they? And obviously, the first try, it was weird because you'd seen what Reece Martin was hopefully going to do next year, but we haven't really conceded tries like that. So
I love the fact, though, he didn't celebrate either.
I know he didn't. I was quite surprised. I mean, I listened to an interview today, and he was very much trying to stay neutral. Still, the Dream Team interview, but yeah, he was quite happy, wasn't he? And I'd seen he was clapping the East Stand coming for the warm up and that, so he'll be excited, won't he? But yeah, obviously the first half. Though, I think one thing that did disappoint me was I thought the energy around the ruck. Obviously, we was missing a few people, and especially Minchella, who we'll go on to speak about. But that Alfie Edgell try, obviously you get bad decisions, bad reads and stuff, but I think we've got to be better on that right edge, especially going forward in the semi and the final, and hopefully the grand final. But yeah, I think obviously Willie, we got him in the sheds, didn't we? And Willie gave him his probably usual half-time rollicking, and they came out firing. Still want the finished article, was they in the second half? But they've just done enough, and they are quite clinical, aren't they? And of parking the bus and strangling teams. But yeah, it was. I came away from it feeling not. I was, but when you're like, oh God, wait, have we just finished second to get an home semi? I was quite annoyed at some people in the East Stand as well. I don't know who it was. One of this kid was saying to his mate, "Don't really matter if we lose tonight." And his mate, and I turned around, I won't try and score thing. I went, "You do realise if we lose, we've got to go to like Wigan or Warrington away." And he was like, "Yeah, but we you know." I was just like, "Oh no, come on. Craven Park is a fortress. This home semi is massive," which obviously we'll speak later in the show about. But yeah, I thought the fans weren't as good as we could have been and should have been, and they're always strange after them last game of the seasons. You know, it was a bit of a downer because of the Wigan-Salford game, but even still, it will be, but it needs to be a little bit better, doesn't it, in the semi, because we need it to be rocking like it normally is. I was just very surprised because of the occasion and people leaving and the hype around finishing second and getting that home semi, that it was very, very flat.
Yeah, I suppose, Joe. I mean, I don't want to say we're victims of our own success, because actually we haven't had success. We've got ourselves in good spots, you know, good positions, semi-finals, etc., etc. You know, and I think actually, if you listen to Willie Peters, you know, he welcomes the expectation. He says, "Well, if we're signing better players," and you know, and I think there's a lot around at the moment, isn't there? About one of my big bugbears about Rover supporters is that, well, as long as they try and we do well, you know, it's enough. And it's like, well, no, because the level of investment, the recruitment in players, the coaching staff we've employed, everything that's going on around the club, actually, as supporters, and I think we talked about it, Joe, probably a long time ago about, you know, he's not probably the most popular figure at the moment, Tony Smith, but he did raise our expectations, saying, no, we should be better. We should be better. And maybe I reckon, Joe, maybe there's a bit about that around the game against Leeds about because we weren't playing for the league leaders, it didn't mean as much. But that said, that's not to say, well, it's just been a good season and we're happy if we finish where we do. No, we should strive and strive and strive and strive. So I understand your frustration, because I feel it, and I heard the same from a few other people as well.
And I think what, especially, and obviously the players allude to this, and Willie Peters does as well internally. Everyone goes, "Look where Rovers were 4 or 5 years ago." Yeah, that was 4 or 5 years ago. They didn't have this board. It don't matter. Yeah, it literally doesn't matter 4 or 5 years ago where Leeds were, where Wigan were, where Hull KR were. We're talking about 2024, and yeah, I do think there's maybe a little bit of expectation within the fan base of kind of just like, oh, until we need to get this, we need to get that. And yeah, I do believe that obviously with more success comes higher expectations, but I do think some people take it for granted a little bit. I don't think Willie Peters and the players do, but yeah, I think it's kind of like, let's realise we're in an absolute wonderful position, but nothing is given to us. And whether we play in the semi and whether we play hopefully in the grand final, we'll be absolutely gunning, because let's be honest, as much as we like to have a joke and get bites on Twitter, Rovers are one of the most talked about and hated clubs for a reason, because they've got this investment, because we're the new kids on the block and stuff like that. So let's embrace it. But at the end of the day, let's not play ourselves down as these underdogs. We're a very good team. We've beaten every team in this division this season comfortably as well at times. So we deserve to be there, but we've still got 160 minutes or so until we've actually done something. So yeah, let's get behind the boys. Let's have a little bit less of, oh, it takes stuff for granted. Or, well, you know, it don't matter who we play next week. It's going to be an unbelievably tough game. And yeah, nothing's given to you. We can't just coast up just because we're at home and we think, yeah, it's Craven Park, we'll win. You know, and I think that's what playoff rugby's all about, isn't it? So yeah, it's been a great season so far. I put it in my tweet. I said it's been an unbelievable ride. But as Willie Peters alluded to, it's a different competition now. It's going to get 10 times tougher. So we need to raise our levels, and everybody, I think, in the club does as well.
Yeah, we're still waiting for that Wolf of Wall Street moment, aren't we? Where we can walk in with our arms out open.
I hope so, mate. Again, try not to get too carried away. Let's see what happens this weekend, and then we'll start building up to it. But yeah, a well-deserved week off as well.
Yeah, going back to that Leeds game, 10-10 at half-time. Was you nervous?
A little bit. I said to my mate Dennis, I said, "Oh, we're flat, aren't we?" And I said, "If I think a first try is massive." I hate that cliche because, of course, it is, because then you go back in the lead. But no, not nervous. I've seen every game. I've been to every game, bar in London away this year, and I just feel like they've got it in them to turn it when it's not working their way. And again, we played absolutely woeful in that first half against the team who threw it about, who had their season on the line, and we still ended up going in the sheds level where if it had been 10-0, 18-0 to Leeds, I wouldn't have been shocked, especially with some of the misreads in defence. But that just shows where we're at, because even when it's not going our way, we've got the players and we've got that little off-the-cuff move where we can just get back into a game and then we're back in the contest. So, yeah, not nervous. And then I thought second half we clicked a little bit better in attack, didn't we? It was never going to be an amazing game. I think from both teams, there was a little bit of panic stations for obviously different reasons. But, yeah, got the result in the end, and I think everyone was a little bit relieved. And I think, again, maybe going to the atmosphere, as much as the players need a week off, maybe us fans do as well, because it has been an emotional season. We've played the most games barring Wigan and Warrington, who have got to the Challenge Cup final. And I do think the lads, especially in the back end of the second half, and rightly so, because they've gone through a lot this year and been outstanding, looked out on the feet. And I said, I'm so glad this game's dead and buried, because we did not want to be playing this week and then having to go away the week after.
No, and you know what? I've just looked at them tries in the second half, and they've sort of become a feature of Rovers of the last, 10 weeks probably. So you've seen the opposite try, Michael Lewis stepping off his left, going onto his right foot. Not now. Normally we've seen him go on his own, power over himself. This time he offloaded to Opposite. We've obviously seen the Jesse Sue try where he powers over from 5-10 meters out. And then we saw the Burgess try with a Hiku offload, and to be fair, I don't think that Hiku offload has got enough attention for how good it was and how much you put it on a plate for Burgess. I mean, Burgess almost shouldn't celebrate that try, because it was Hiku who put it on a plate for him. But they're the tries that actually we've become accustomed to. And I think that's where Rovers then took the control. I think the players took control, that they did the things that they know they can do, that they've been doing, and ultimately, like you said, this was a Leeds side that was playing for something. Rovers sides have been in this position of old, where it's been desperate rugby, and we've seen a Rovers side come up with better than what Leeds did. It was almost like Leeds didn't want to get in the play. Like, as daft as it sounds, they didn't play like they wanted to get in the playoffs. And I think ultimately, like you said, whatever Willie Peters said at half-time, whether it was him, whether it was the players getting together, whether it was the fact that Rovers scored after 46 minutes after half-time, whatever it was, in the end, Rovers looked pretty much in control, didn't they? We had the first half scare, but reality was Rovers were in control that game from the end of 80 minutes.
Yeah, there was. I think a big talking point for me is, and I've questioned a few of these decisions sometimes, is the bench rotation. I know he loves to use that last prop as a literally 5-10 minute spell cameo at the end, but I don't think it works sometimes. Prime example was Matty Staunton against Wigan. Bloke has to take a carry to maybe win the game, and he's called after 77 minutes and knocks on. But I thought the introduction of Jack Brown changed it a little bit, and I've known Jack many years, really good friends with his family, so I don't want to sound like I'm being biased.
He's got a bit of fight in him, hasn't he, though? He's got a bit of... He's got a bit of fight. He
has, and I said to his cousin a few weeks ago, because he was like, he's not getting as many minutes. I was like, he's not going to, is he, mate? He's coming from a team who have been appalling this year. He's had a rubbish pre-season at Hull, probably, and then he's coming into this Rovers side. Already he's looking fitter. I was
going to say, his fitness was questioned as well. He had to... Don't forget, he missed a few weeks, didn't he? Because Willie Peters didn't think he was fit enough to play.
Yeah, and what I like about him is sometimes he'll get that leg drive, but what he does do is he wins that floor quick. He can get an offload game, and especially, obviously, for not much longer, Matt Parcell, but when obviously Jay's people like, Mickey Matt next year, Bill Leland, them halfbacks and hookers can get behind that quick play of the ball. And I think people don't realise how valuable that is, especially in the middle. Obviously, Sam Luckley's got a little bit more grunt, I think, with his leg drive and stuff. Sometimes he's a little bit questionable with his offloads. But yeah, I was impressed with how Luckley and Jack Brown went. And obviously, they'll probably get another chance in the semi, with Mini still being banned and stuff. So yeah, it was great to see the bench come on and properly make an impact. And I'd probably like to just give a bit of credit to Matt Staunton as well, because obviously he's leaving. It's quite a sad way to go in it. I think in an ideal world he'd have probably wanted to stay, and Rovers would have wanted him to stay. But he's stepped up in recent weeks, and I think he's played his best rugby, and he can play prop, loose forward, second row. Very good utility player coming into his prime, and I think Wakefield have got a really good player there, but he's still got a big job to do for the Robins. So yeah, they're them unsung heroes in the pack. Obviously, we've bigged up Dean Hadley so much this year, and Jesse Sue and Whitbread, but them lads who were playing a little bit of a cameo role and in and out the team, they're just as valuable.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned sort of. Of course, there was another player, not just him, but who's departing the Robins come the end of the season. George King named on the bench. He didn't play the longest of minutes, did he? And it was almost like a farewell tour, if we're going to be honest. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if it wasn't the last home game of the season, whether George King would have featured at all, because he hasn't done so far. For a long time, has he featured on the bench? And the minutes that he did get did feel like it was, go play out in front of the East Stand, go play out in front of Craven Park, get the applause. He came on, didn't he? Did an offload, did a few drives and stuff. But then again, he probably deserves it, Joe, as well, because, if we go back, 2-3 years, he was carrying that pack. George King was the main prop, and he probably did deserve that send-off. And I do think that's what it was.
100%. Again, I put it because he deserves it. It hasn't worked out this year, and we don't know what's happened between him and Willie, or we probably never will. We know he's moving back. Obviously he lives in Huddersfield anyhow. He's going to the Giants next season, isn't he? So he's going to be closer to home, closer to his family, work-wise. But yeah, when we first started this podcast, mate, we was commenting on a pack that had Wilmar, Corbin Sims, Brad Takarangi, players like that, and every week, whatever the result, whatever happened, George King would play massive minutes under Tony Smith, carry the pack, and he deserves a lot of praise for that, because I openly admitted when he came in 2020, I remember one of his first games was against Wakefield away, and I'll hold my hand up. I tweeted when the club was at the bottom saying we've signed crap players like George King. I held my hand up because 2 years later he was my favourite player at the time. And yeah, he deserves a lot of praise. It hasn't worked out this season, but he's been one of the reasons why we're at this stage now. And yeah, he obviously loves the club still, doesn't he? And there's been no hard feelings. And what I've noticed is, even on Instagram, in training, he hasn't been playing, never sulking. He's always having a laugh with the players, putting up the Robins, all little stuff like that. I know it don't mean much, but he hasn't gone in the shadows like some people maybe have done or whatever and said, if I'm not playing, I'd rather leave, because Willie Peters has always been like that. And if you don't want to be here, you can go. Whereas King stuck it out, hasn't played many games as probably he should have done and did have wanted to do, but it just proves where this team are at. And yeah, he goes with a lot of respect from all KR fans, because, again, them Tony Smith years, he was by far the best middle. Yeah,
and it goes back to as well. Under the Willie Peters era, when we've let a player go, it's been the right decision. As sad as it might be, and sentimental we might be, it's been the right decision, and then he's been proven right the next season.
On a serious note, I can't name a player who's left Rovers while Willie Peters has been involved, not the era, obviously, not the people who left before 2023, the season started, but while he's been in charge, that I still think could be at Rovers, or he'd get into this Rovers side now.
Do you know what, Joe? The only one I thought, because he's playing regularly, is Ethan Ryan. And then, do you know what? But then we played Salford at home.
I know, yeah.
And then I thought, do you know what? That's why you've gone. That is the reality. I think it was it the first kickoff he knocked it off?
Yeah, and do you know what? He looked so small compared to our wingers as well.
But it sounds. I always come back to I spoke about it on the last Robin pod with Sean Lunt when for Matty Parcell. You sound disrespectful.
Yeah, but you're not.
Players actually did such a good job for us at that time. But this is the evolution of the Robins, isn't it? We're getting better and better and better. And unfortunately, there's victims, and the victims are these players who've done well. But, like I just said, Willie Peters, Paul Lake, the recruitment team, whoever, have been proven right because the players are better and better that we're signing.
100%, and that is the thing. Unfortunately, you've got to let George King and Matty Staunton go, because if not, you can't bring in Jared Warrior-Hargreaves, Reece Martin, Ebri Doro, Mickey Mack, players like that. You know, everyone says about Parcell, why didn't Rovers try and keep him and stuff? That was written on the wall, wasn't it? When Willie spoke to Humbersard when they announced Matt's departure, he said, he's known for probably a year. That was his last year. So Rovers can't be blamed, or people can't be thinking Rovers didn't want Matt Parcell to stay in that situation. But yeah, it's a salary cap sport, and these players who have been and gone, they've shaped the club to where it is now. We're not disrespecting them, we're just saying it's tough. They wouldn't probably get in this team now. Although one player I do think we will be saying about it next year still is Ryan Hall. I'm not ready to see him go.
No. And last week's Robin Pod, you know, I've seen, like we said, there's a lot of Leeds fans who think he's just going to come and be big, you know, a reserve player to back up some youngsters. But anyway, that's up for them. But anyway, Joe, we've got the enigmatic Keith Pollard to come, because we've got another chance to delve into the history of Hull Kingston Rovers with Keith's Corner.
Keith, welcome back to Robin Pod Weekly. Let's pick up from where we left off last time.
Yeah, and we're moving on to 1957, right? At the time, Joe Ramsden was the coach, and he resigned for personal reasons. Nobody ever found what it was. And Rovers had decided they wanted a dynamic young coach with fresh ideas. And Colin Hutton, who was coming to the end of his playing days at Boulevard, he'd got himself a Grade 1 coaching certificate, and Rovers made the move and appointed him as head coach. After joining the club as a non-playing coach, because Hull won't release him, it's said, now I don't know how true it is, that he actually made one appearance at Widnes as another, because somebody was taken ill on the bus, and no subs in them days, so Colin had to turn out. And from that day, they always took an extra man, like the 18th man nowadays. You know, they always took an extra body on whenever there was home or away. Anyway, pairing him with Will Spavin, because the chairman at the time had passed away and Wills took over. And he saw the transition of Rovers from being just a perpetual strugglers, really, to one of the leading forces in the mid-60s. Several new players joined the club. Bill Riley and Joe McGean arrived from Halifax. Doug Holland came from the Cumbrian club Wakington. This move was duplicated in later years when two other Cumbrian greats joined the club. Bob Coverdale came from Wakefield. He wasn't a Cumbrian, but I'm just telling the story. He'd been picked for Great Britain in 1952 World Cup final while he was playing for Hull FC. Another former player, Dennis Scholes, came back from Leeds via Featherstone, and Colin was instrumental in bringing these players back. Cyril Kellett joined the club after playing most of his career as a centre. Colin turned him into a fullback, which paid big dividends when you look back over the next few years. And I remember Colin telling the story where he'd got Cyril to get some special boots made with like a chisel toe, like a golf club. So when he hit the ball, because he kicked it straight on, did Cyril, it made turn him into a goal kicker. Anyway, there were quite a few players were chucking it in them days. Reached the end of the line. Jim Tong made his debut in 1951, who played second fiddle to Joe Ramsden. Sam Smith, who went to Hunslet, I believe, before coming first club captain. He'd played 151 games. Others who left was Terry Buckle, a utility back, Harold Ellaby, an half-back, Sam Evans, who went to Hull FC and played at Wembley, Tommy Sutton, father of Hull's Mick Sutton, and Jim Tong, funny enough, later in his day, came and coached at Constable Youth Club with Ronnie Everett, who was instrumental in starting Rovers Colts. Also, 58-59 season, there were several arrivals came, household names throughout the years. Johnny Taylor signed from BOCM. Ray Jacks came from Wakefield. Graham Pope came from Penzance, Newland Rugby Union as a standoff, and Colin turned him into a winger, and his nickname was the Coach Express. I believe Eddie Waring was the first one to call him that. Alvin Ackley joined the club from Halifax after Rovers paid £1,000 for his services. Ackley was a very, very experienced hooker, great player, and he used to say that he was the Rovers, really true professional. His attitude to the game, and the top player of that era was Joe Ramsden, who I'd mentioned early on. He was the next in line of the great hookers that have been produced by the club, and played for the Robins following Frank Bogey in the 1920s. All born in Hull. Flash was another one. Joe joined the club from local amateur team Prince of Wales, which is a pub team, in 1934. He soon became a first team regular, and in 1939, at 29, he joined the RAF, a move that took the best part of his playing career away from him because of the war. He returned to the club as Rovers' first choice hooker and captain, taking over from Bill Jackson in 1948. He played 346 games, earning himself 17 Yorkshire County caps. Never quite made the great GB team through another Joe, Joe Egan. Well, our Joe had the satisfaction in his last game for Yorkshire beating Wigan's Joe 38-23 in the scrum count. Joe played his last game for Rovers at the age of 35 in the local Good Friday derby on the 7th of April 1950. He later transferred to Keighley for £500 and played for another 4 years for them, coaching Keighley for 18 months before returning to the Robins in 1956. As I said earlier, he resigned through a matter of principle, as he called it. What that was, I'll never know, and I don't think anybody ever will. Anyway, that's it for this week. See you next week. Okay?
There we go, Joe. Another snapshot into the history of Hull Kingston Rovers. I mean, to be fair, he does know his stuff. He does know his stuff, and it is interesting. Do you know what? The good thing with Keith is you get a little nugget every time you listen to him. There's a little bit there where you just go, wow, didn't realise that's what they're doing. I think last week's Robin Pod said about they played the derby on Christmas Day and they had to get the bus home. The players, LFC players, had to get the bus home and the bus didn't run, so they had to walk home. You know, it's great. You can't believe it's stuff like that. And that was when thousands of supporters were there as well. Anyway, so we move on. Joe, Hull Kingston Rovers got a new kit out. Do you like it?
You might have to reset your mic, mate. I think Keith's story is taking you back to the 1950s because that's how you sound like you're from.
So Hull Kingston Rovers, Joe, have got a new kit out. Do you like it?
What did you say, mate?
Oh dear, this is not good. Hull Kingston Rovers have got a new kit out. Do you like it?
Yeah, obviously we're crashing a little bit, Chris, so I'll keep talking. You might have to dip out and dip in. But yeah, it's okay. I'm not really massively into kits, but I'm not a massive fan of the sash and everything like that, but it doesn't really matter for me. I like the traditional, obviously, red and white colours. I think you can experiment a little bit more with away colours. But yeah, I never buy kits. I never get into the, I'm no Mike Carter. I don't have like a fond passion for them or anything like that, but they seem to be doing really well. Obviously, from a marketing point of view, they've sold out a higher percentage in the first set amount of days than last season's kit, so that's always great. It's more revenue for the club. But yeah, for me, it's a decent kit, but it's not one that like keeps me up at night or I'm going to be wearing every weekend. I kind of just leave that to other fans and stuff. I prefer training gear myself.
Hopefully, Joe, you can hear me now loud and clear. We've lost Joe. So what I was just going to say about the Hull Kingston Rovers new shirt. Joe is back.
Yeah, let's try this. Yeah, I can hear you. I think it was just because you'd gone to Keith and then there's a little bit of disruption. I think it's from your end though, so I do apologise, guys.
It won't be the first time,
Obviously,
Joe.
that's what
That
you get
Keith's,
for having Keith's corner.
I was going to say it won't be the first time that Keith's caused disruption at Hull Kingston Rovers. So if you're listening, Keith, thanks for everything you've done. But no, I think with the Hull Kingston Rovers shirt, I mean, it's similar to the England one, isn't it? That's just been released. And then they've just put a sash across it, which I don't know. It just seems a bit unnecessary. Some people question whether it's for like a Rob Burrows 7 tribute. I don't know. And the wings and the arrows.
I don't think it is. Obviously,
No.
Rovers have done the MDMA kit, haven't they, and stuff, the training gear. But yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be a number 7.
No, but it does look like a number 7, and I think that's it, isn't it? But I can understand why people say it. But do you know what? I'm sort of on the fence with it. I think it'd have been better just without the sash. I just think it'd have looked great. Just as a white kit with a red trim on the top, and just leave it as it is. But hey, like you said, records, sales, you know, and I do genuinely think that if Rovers ran out in a bin bag, it probably people would still be buying it. That is just genuinely our fan base. They will just buy anything, and full credit to them for doing it, because that money goes into the club. That enables them to be able to play players, get the import, do what.
Chris, sorry, mate. I'm going to have to jump in because obviously I want everyone to have like the best audio and stuff. I cannot hear a word you're saying, mate. You're crashing every time you speak. You might have to leave the studio and jump back in like I did because I physically cannot hear you. Sorry, guys. We do apologise.
You got me down, Joe?
Miles better, mate. There we go. We do apologise, everyone.
No, right. Apologies for everything that's just happened there. And if
Right,
you're watching
the kit's bang average. Keith's
Yeah.
an unbelievable storyteller. Where we're going next?
we are going to Phil Lowe Way, which
Yeah.
was announced at the award ceremony. We'll come on to the award ceremony very quickly. I mean, Poorhouse Lane. I mean, to be fair, that is a tribute as well to a set time and struggles that people are going through. And I have seen some people questioning it, but Phil Lowe, a fantastic tribute to a fantastic person. And at the awards ceremony, it was interesting to see when Mike Smith was up on stage, how emotional he got when he talked about Phil Lowe, because he's a player, a person, a man who just, I don't know, so enigmatic, just transcends Hull Kingston Rovers and had the most amazing rugby career.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the same as like Roger Millwood way, ain't it? Clive Sullivan way, and now rightly so. Phil gets his own street or whatever you want to call it, lane way, and it's leading to Craven Park, and it's a fitting tribute, you know. Of course, Poorhouse Lane, you mentioned, Chris, it is a tribute to the past and the struggles the people of East Hull and everything was going through, and it's synonymous with being at Craven Park ever since I was a boy, you know, going down there to go watch the Robins. And yeah, obviously tradition will stay, but the name will change, and people still refer to it as, you know, the original if they want to. But it's a great, not incentive, that's the wrong word. Yeah, a great tribute, and obviously his family were very emotional. Andy putting stuff on Twitter, saying just, you know, playing thank you to Hull Kingston Rovers. I don't know if they knew about it prior or whatever, or it was a surprise. But yeah, it's obviously that'll be going through the council and legal things now, but that'll be great when, you know, and every time a Rovers player goes to training or goes to the ground, you know, it's little stuff like that, isn't it? They'll think of Phil Lowe, they'll think of what he did for the club, and hopefully it inspires them to hopefully be half as good as he was.
Yeah, amazing player, amazing character, amazing figurehead, and someone who, to be fair, you know, only for the last few years where he deteriorated, and you know, it's incredibly sad. But what a legacy he's left, and someone who's going to be fondly remembered. We'll go back to the awards ceremony because, of course, the end of season awards of the regular season, we saw some of the big awards given out. The Roger Millwood Player of the Season went to Elliot Minchella with Mikey Lewis in second place, Dean Hadley and Peter Hickey in third, joint third, Colin Hutton. The Outstanding Achievement Award went to Ryan Hall. The Players Player Award went to Dean Hadley with Mikey Lewis in second and Peter Hickey in third. Try of the Season went to Tanganoa. Tackle of the Season went to Mikey Lewis. The members player went to Michael Lewis. The women's player went to Sophie Banks. Young player of the year went to Connor Barley, and then the Jed Dunn Academy Player of the Year went to Frankie Dearlove. Joe, when you look across the board and you look at the people who received the awards, you look at the people who are in second and third place, etc., it's hard to argue with any of it, is it?
Yeah, it's expecting them people to win, won't you? But I thought Jesse Sue might have got a third or second place for a few of it. He's been outstanding this year, haven't he? He's got more tries than Jay Field, hasn't he? But yeah, no, obviously you see the next generation with Frankie Dearlove and then, you know, the women's player and everything like that, which is always great to see. It was nice to have like a big update of the academy as well from Jason Neverton and all the other coaches and stuff. And it kind of like that amalgamation into one family, which Paul Sewell speaks about. And, you know, his speech was very, you know, inspiring, wasn't it? Especially the last 2 minutes or so when he was saying about like he came in just trying to help out a mate and then he's become a Robin and stuff. You can tell where the vision's coming from. It is coming from the top right to the bottom. But yeah, well done to all the winners. I did like how much piss was boiled about Mikey Lewis's tackle. Don't worry about it. You don't support Rovers. It's an award that's not going to you. It doesn't matter if you didn't physically tackle him. He stole the ball. That was the moment that Rovers beat Leeds away for me. Let the kid have the trophy. Who cares?
Yeah. And if anybody did tune in and anybody was there, they did explain the context.
Oh,
of
yeah. People don't listen, though, mate, do they?
No. And look, I get it. It wasn't a tackle, but if you listen to the context and the reason and the why, that's why it was given. So it's our award. We can do what we want with it. We can give it, you know, that's the thing.
I understand, like, Mike is probably the biggest talking point in Super League and stuff like that, but it's like me and you complaining about who's won Warrington's assist of the year and going, it's not a proper assist. Who cares? But again,
well, I'll tell you what,
people want to talk about Rovers, mate, and they can't admit it, but they do. They love talking about Ulkingston Rovers, and long may it continue because I love it.
Well, nobody picked up on Tanganoa scoring the try of the season, and it was a drop ball, and he just ran.
Yeah, but that was okay though. But
that was okay, but for me, that was a great try. But if you look at it in the context, if you put anyway.
Yeah, Wigan thought the game had stopped and blah blah blah. But yeah, it was if any chance to have a dig at Mikey and Rovers and everything like that, everyone loves it, don't they? And yeah, it's great to see. But yeah, and I just think as well, mate. Obviously, before we move on from the awards, how good was it to have it at Connexin? Have people from Sky hosting, have the fans there. You know, I'd seen you was there, mate. I didn't get to it, but I just think there is no other club where you can have it at an arena, sell 1,000 or so tickets, and people might think it doesn't mean much. In the IMG era and marketing and what Rovers want to become, that is a fantastic idea. And little stuff like that gets you brownie points, especially in the local area, and it was great to see.
Yeah, and it being held at, I mean, traditionally it was held at Craven Park.
Yeah.
It was moved to the Hilton, the new Hilton, and then capacity, you know, exceeded the amount of people wanted to go, so then they moved it. And I think there's not been more made of. It's quite a groundbreaking thing to do, to hold an award ceremony in a massive arena, but not only just hold it there, then sell it as an event to go to, as a fan to go. Just to go watch it and stuff. But
No, that's it, innit? And cheap tickets. Obviously, there wasn't charging extortionate tickets to go in the stalls, and people who maybe aren't from the most affluent areas but absolutely love Ulkingston Rovers and kids are obsessed with the club, they got to go to a major event. Not many people can say they go to the awards evening of a Super League team. So it's a fantastic idea. Obviously, I don't think it got as much praise as it should. But yeah, credit's obviously probably Craig Franklin and that who made it possible, and Connexin. They've got obviously a good relationship. And yeah, I think that'll become a regular thing now going forward. And just the way the graphics was so much better this year. I think I remember last year the video lagged a little bit. This year was clear as day. It with the graphics going into the videos, everything was perfect. So yeah, well done to everyone involved because it was great. I watched it all on YouTube. I know you was there, and obviously from both views it was a good watch.
Yeah, just last one on the award ceremony. Player Dean Hadley probably tells you everything you need to know about his contribution, what people think about him, especially when you look at the job he did against Leeds, 53 tackles, played at loose forward. He had, I think, something like 19, 20 carries. He only made 4 metres, but that's because he was shipping the ball on. That's why. And people worried about what will happen without Luchella potentially not playing in the next game. But I think Dean Hadley, he just takes to the role, whatever he does. He just does it, doesn't he?
He's a different type of 13. I don't know if maybe that was why the span was a little bit off, but obviously he's probably going to get another crack at it. But honestly, mate, as a forward, how he can play 80 minutes most weeks, never make an error, always break through tackles, and not get picked in an England team that has a 38-year-old who plays a maximum of 20 minutes a game and is without a club for next season baffles me. And do you know what? I've tried to get into England Rugby League, and it's great that Minnie and Mikey are in there. I'm not that fussed about what they do or if they win anything or even if they beat Australia. You know, Rovers is my team. It's different international rugby, and it's not as publicised and how popular as it should be for a reason, because it's not taken seriously by anyone really. But I'd have loved Dean Hadley to get that recognition. But in-house at Hull KR, he's probably the first name on the team sheet, and he can play anywhere, can't he? The bloke's a machine, and he's just that modern-day prop where, you know for a fact, if we pick up an injury, you know, he don't get subbed. He's 80 minutes, even when we're fully fit. Willie Peters has refrained from bringing people on who are fully fit and haven't played a minute to keep Dean Hadley on when we're winning by 20, 30 points, because he trusts him and he knows he can do that full 80. For me, he's my player of the season, but equally so, Minnie and Mikey in that order could have gone either way. But just for his unsung work and what he does in the pack, which is a lot tougher than certain areas of the pitch, he's just Mr. Reliable for me.
Yeah, we're going to move on shortly, Joe, but we're going to go with Robins Remembered right now.
Remember to jump out.
Steve, welcome back to the Robin Pod for Robins Remembered. Who have you got for us this week?
I've got the president.
Wow.
Yeah, not Trump or the other one. I've got
the president.
The president. Mike Smith, the guy who signed at the age of 17, stayed with the club throughout, and has worked his way to become president of Hull Kingston Rovers. Yeah, Mike Smith, born in 1958, lived on in East Hull all his life. Went to Sacred Heart School, which is on South Coates Lane, if it's still there. The same school that Peter Flanagan went to. And then his secondary school was St Richard's, which is as close to Craven Park as you can get. And he signed for Rovers at the age of 17 in 1975. Actually, he almost signed for Warrington. Warrington were after him because he was an England schoolboy. He played against the Australian schoolboys at the age of 16. And it was an Australian team that included such names as Craig Young and Les Boyd, who went on to greater things with the Australian national team. So Mike had played against them. He'd come to the attention of Warrington, but I think he was always going to be a Rovers signing. And he holds the record of playing 489 games for Rovers. He's played more games than anybody else in history. And he scored 140 tries. He made his debut in Easter 1975 when Rovers, it was Good Friday, and normally on Good Friday we play that lot across the river. But Rovers were actually in the second division in 1975. And so therefore he played against Barrow, came off the bench for Steve Hartley, and the rest, as I say, is history. Aged 22, he won his first cap against New Zealand and played 2 tests against Australia in 1982. He toured Australia and New Zealand in 79 and 84. And he's one of a few rugby league players that actually played an international in Venice. France chose Venice as a venue, Venice in Italy as a venue for an international match, and Great Britain beat France 8-7. So, yeah, he's played there. As I say, toured Australia and New Zealand in 79 and 84 and was an ever present around those times for Great Britain. He's had a Cup Winners' Medal, 3 Championship Winners' Medals, 2 Premiership, Yorkshire Cup, Rovers Player of the Year in 1981 and 82, and he's got the heritage number of 779. I used to, back in the day, knock about a bit with Peter Fox, who the third of the Fox brothers, Neil, Don and Peter. And Peter was coach of Great Britain around the time that Mike played. And I always said to him, who was your Mr. Reliability? And he said, Mike Smith at OKR, he said he was a great centre, fantastic player, looked after himself and fully deserved the caps that he got. So that was a high accolade from Foxy. And Mike Smith, still a nice fella to talk to, as most Rovers fans who have spoke to him know. He's got no side to him, and one of the greatest, if not in terms of being a red and white, one of the greatest we've ever had.
I mean, Joe, any encounters you have with Mike Smith, just what a bloke.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a reason why Willie Peters loves him and he's still involved. I don't know if you've watched the latest Robins on the Inside from the Leeds game. He's on the pitch before the game, speaking to the players. He still plays a massive role. The players absolutely love him. The coaching staff do. And yeah, he's a legend, one of the very best. And like you said, everyone, if you've had a 2-second chat to him or you know him and he's your best mate, he's a lovely bloke. And he's got a lot of respect, not just in East Hull, but like Steve said there, all around the world.
Yeah. I think as well, he might not know everything, but he knows a little bit of everything.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
So, he can have it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So he's a great figurehead for the club. And he did a great job at the presentation, the end of the season awards ceremony. He got emotional, like Rose said. And great memories there. Going slightly off kilt here, Joe, Ben Failer announces retirement from Rugby League. And it might be chalk and cheese for a lot of Rugby support. But do you know what? I liked him as a referee. I just liked him as his attitude and the way he conducted. You might not like his decisions, but I liked how he just conducted himself.
My favourite ref, apart from Terry Alabert, who was the fastest ref in the world.
No way! There's no way!
I'm joking. No, and do you know what, mate? I'm quite honoured in a way because I'll be at his final game on Sunday. It'll be the final game of Doncaster's season, and I've been working for them this season, doing their social media and match reports and that. So yeah, it's Donny's final game, and they've got Wakefield away, and it'll be Ben Failer's last game. So yeah, he's been great. I think even like little stuff. Correct. Obviously, I'm sure the Stato's out there, but I'm sure I've seen a video of Rovers playing Ruben Kazan, or someone really daft, or in the early 2000s, and it's when he's just up and coming. And obviously, there's the famous Rugby League Raw against Rochdale, which is to me just the funniest video ever. Bobby Golding and his assistant and the captain, whatever his name was, just saying, right, get off. But yeah, I love the way he talks to people. Most recently, have you seen the headbutt in the Dewsbury Barrow game or something like that? And the red bloke goes to him, I headbutted him, and goes, everyone's seen you, get off. Just he talks to them like children, but sometimes that's what they need. And yeah, as much as he's maybe give Rovers a few dodgy decisions over the years, every referee has done for every single team, and he has been a really good servant for the refs. And yeah, he's always been a funny one to listen to and hear on the video ref, and hopefully he has a good retirement, and whatever he does next, best of luck to him.
Yeah. I think sometimes people like Ben Failer, it's when they've gone, you realise how good they was, and not how good, or how much you needed them, or how, that's what, I think that's what will come prevalent in the future. But hey, congratulations, Ben Failer. I think, a lot of referees get knocked, and we need them. So, let's celebrate the ones who have done great, and let's encourage the ones who are still to come yet. Joe, as well, during the week, we saw the Super League Dream Team announced. We also saw Danny Walker's got 3 legs, which is incredible. Michael Lewis, Elliot Minchella included in that. Surprised that they want any other Baltic Clubs players included.
Yeah, I think Petr Hiku, maybe for McDonnell, but then I can understand why Nene McDonnell's got in because of everything that happened at Leeds, and he's kind of come to Salford, last chance saloon probably in his career, and he has been really good for them this season. But Hiku has been amazing for Rovers. Yeah, unfashionable in it, but people like Dean Adley, as much as they should be in, are never going to get in. I think he's a good player, but I don't think Matty Lee should have been in from St Helens. You've got players like Jesse Sue. Dean Adley's played prop most of this season. I thought he could have got in there. And yeah, there was. I think maybe that's it. Of course, everyone gets excited, don't they, and puts every single Rovers player in and tries and makes an argument, but it's never going to be like that. But yeah, I think for me, Jesse Sue for Matty Lee's, if I was going to swap one from a Rovers point of view, and I thought Hiku and Hadley were unlucky to miss out. And yeah, there's no wonder Canberra want Danny Walker if he's got 3 legs.
I don't think though, Joe, if we hadn't had them shenanigans in the first few games of the season with Petr Hiku playing fullback, and he just came as a centre, he would have been in that Super League dream team.
Yeah, maybe. He had a shaky first 4 or 5 games, didn't he? Scored a few tries and that, but he was firmly getting used, wanted to Kingston Rovers and life in Super League in the UK. But since he moved to centre, like most people were calling for, he has been a bit of a revelation. But remember, Hiku done, lad.
Yeah, finish apparently. We move on. I'll tell you what, we've not got a game for a few weeks. A week, have we? I suppose it's a little bit like uncharted territory for the Robins, isn't it? So in terms of, if you look at who our potential rivals are in the grand final in terms of Wigan, they've been here, done that. Whereas for us, we're sort of trying to find our way into the best preparation for a grand final. I think Willie Peter said they're trying to give the players a few days off, then they're coming to training, then they're going to try a few days off again. I think Wigan have gone down south, haven't they? They've gone on sort of a little mini training camp. I don't know. It's uncharted territory for us, isn't it? We don't know quite necessarily what to do right now.
No, we don't. And I think the proof will be in the pudding. But either way, whatever we've done, it could be the wrong decision. It could be the right decision. You just have to wait and see. But yeah, obviously we've got a watchful eye. I believe I'm right here. We can't play St Helens, so it literally. I think if St Helens beat Warrington, it's the winner of Salford and Lee, and if Warrington beats St Helens, it's Warrington. And then
who do you want, Joe? Who do you want? If you could, if you was Mystic Meg, who would you have?
I want Salford because I'll put it on record. I can't stand them, and I'd love to put them to the sword in the semi-final. I've got a really sneak feeling it's going to be Lee. I think St Helens are going to beat Warrington, and maybe this will get clipped when Warrington put 40 past them. But I just think there's a narrative between Rovers and Lee, and with all the Lee players moving to FC next season, I just think a semi-final, with what happened at Wembley, with what happened in the playoffs last year, everything that's happened with Derek and Hull FC this year, it would be a popcorn event if Rovers played Lee in the semi-final. I'm not bothered. If we have to play Warrington, to say you've got to be the best, you've got to be the best and beat everyone, haven't you? So look, it's going to be tough whoever we play. It's Salford, if they win and we have to play them on their day, they can beat anyone. Lee obviously are found in form. But I honestly think it could be Lee. But let's be honest, it's probably going to be Warrington, isn't it? Because I think Saints fans and the players have lost a little bit of belief, and a lot of them want Wellens out. But it'd be true sporting fashion, wouldn't it, if he goes and produces a result at the Halliwell Jones? But it is uncharted territory. They needed this week off. Obviously, they're not going to be off for 7 days and then come back in a little bit laggy. They're doing work away. I listened to Willie Peters' podcast. It's only a few minutes with Mikey, and he was very similar to what Liam Marshall said about Wigan. So yeah, they're going on a camp for a few days, whereas Rovers are just having a few days off. Back in, I believe, today. I think they trained today. They're off tomorrow, and then over the weekend, and then from Monday, obviously when they know their opponents, it's back into game mode. So yeah, it's exciting, and obviously we'll keep a watchful eye, and I'm sure Wigan fans will be as well. And then by Saturday night, we'll know the final 4.
Yeah, and hopefully Evels, Gildart will be fully fit as well, because big question marks, aren't they, about them? And of course, we've got Minchella's appealing the, again, I think Minchella's appeal is based on process. It's not about the actual incident. It's about the process of how it's come about and the grading of the offence and all kind of. So it's the technicality what they're trying to appeal now, isn't it?
It's one of the weirdest videos I've ever seen because that angle when it's front on, it looks like he takes his head off. The angle on the side, he don't touch him. It's so, and it's a tough one. I don't know if they are appealing the appeal. I don't know. Obviously, there's been rumours, haven't they? But there's no confirmation from the club. I don't think they would announce that. I'm hoping. I don't think you could class this as a frivolous appeal. So if that is the case, and Rovers can obviously, we've got people like Neil Ludger, lawyer, who'll know everything, the inside and out about these appeals. If they're confident, if they appeal, it can't get extended to the grand final, then you'd expect them to go for it. If there is that risk, with Tanganoa, hopefully Gildart and De Val's back, you're only going to be missing Mini as much as it's going to be a big miss. That starting 13 and the subs that you'll probably put together to play against either Warrington Saints and Warrington Lee or Salford is still enough to get to a grand final. So they've got to be cautious, but if they can get the captain back next week, hopefully they can. But obviously they've got to have grounds to think that they can do it because they've already made a delay on the case, a massive case put forward, and it got rejected straight away, didn't it? So yeah, let's wait and see. But hopefully not because, and I put, let's give him a chance to walk us out at Old Trafford because if there's someone who deserves to leave the club out after the season he's had, it is Minchella, and it'd be a shame if something like this cost him from playing in a semi or a grand final.
Yeah. Now we'll move on to probably the favourite part of the Robin pod so far. Right, let's see where we end up with these, Joe.
Sorry, that's very French.
It is, yeah. It's do you know what? It's what you can get for free.
Yeah, I remember when we set up StreamYard, it was all about the free graphics and everything, and we had a bit of fun with them. Yeah,
I was going to play some P. Diddy, but I don't think that's appropriate.
Leave that to the halftime show.
Anyway, so Glenn Lilly 03 asks on X. He says, opinion on the hooker role next season. Does Jez start or Mikey Mack start and Jez off the bench? Or will we see Leyland given a go if he proves his fitness? Leyland looks a very direct dynamic hooker and he's got size. So something different to what we've had this year. I suppose Parcell wasn't starting hooker, was he, this season? And he's played his way in. And Jez, the last game I think against Leeds played 12 minutes.
For me,
see you, Joe.
Yeah, for me, if I'm saying now, Leyland goes on loan to the Championship. He's missed an entire season with his ACL. Needs to be playing men's rugby again. Mickey Mack starts, 20 minutes in, get him as a middle, just get him to tackle anything, get in between direct to A and B marker, tire their ruck out, and then after 20 minutes, Jez comes on, plays 40, 50 minutes, and then in the last 10, maybe if the game's a little bit done and dusted, or if we need Mickey Mack to come back on, then you can do that. But yeah, I think Jez plays the bulk of the minutes from the hooker role next season, but I'd start Mickey Mack just for that intensity in the first 10, 15, 20 minutes with him, Jared Warrior-Hargreaves and Jesse Sue as the front row.
Yeah. Be interesting to see that going. I mean, yeah. I suppose the only thing is people are wondering about Jez. Jez was supposed to be starting. Like Jez was supposed to be the main man this year, wasn't he? And then Parcells.
Yeah, it was. But it's tough, isn't it? Sport's all about taking your moment, and it's daft saying Matt Parcells took his moment. But yeah, at times, like against Leeds away, Jez came on with 15 minutes to go. I wanted him to play more minutes, and then he goes and scores the winning try. There's been moments where he came on at half-back, didn't he? And controlled the game. Was it against Lee the other week? So he's had his moments. Matt Parcells being the dominant hooker. But Jez has contributed a lot this season, especially in defence. The amount of knock-ons he forces on them one-on-one tackles, and yeah, maybe he'll be a little bit frustrated about minutes, but he's still 26. He'll probably get the Nan shirt again next year or whatever. If he starts, maybe it'll be better for him off the bench if you've got a hooker like Mickey Mack, but he's still a key part of Ilkeston Rovers' attack and defence. And I do think with how old Mickey Mack is and what he's probably been brought in to do, Jez will play more minutes next season.
I tell you what, Joe, as well, I'd flip it and I'd say credit to Jez Litton that when he's come on, he's made an impact in them small minutes that he probably don't want, he hates, but he's made an impact. He's done something to say, no, I am staking a claim, and he's done something. He hasn't just come on and gone for the mode. He has done something, and that's credit to him.
There's a few players like that, isn't there? Like I always think, I know I brought up Matt Staunton against Wigan and, he made one contribution and it was a knock-on. But if you think you've travelled down to Wigan in the biggest game of the season, you've come out in the warm-up, got all hyped up, back in the sheds, come out to all the fireworks, all the hype, and then nearly 2 hours later, you get brought on and have to play for 4 minutes at the end, it is tough to make an impact. So, credit to Jez and a few people, like we mentioned earlier, Jack Brown and that, who have took their chance even under minimal minutes in certain games, because it is a tough job to do, especially because you lose all that adrenaline that starting player gets.
Another question from X, Rich Whaley. With FC signing all the world-class talent that we'll never hear from again, it's meant we've had to go overseas to try and compete with the envy of Super League. With that in mind, can anyone think of a reason where allegedly only bringing one over from PNG rather than the expected two? Of course, Rovers have entered into that deal with Port Moresby Vipers, aren't they? And two players, bear in mind, these players who are coming across are academy level players, the young kids who grow and develop and hopefully mould into Super League first class talent. I don't know. I think I don't know, Joe. I'll get your opinion, but I think it's just what we've done is try to expand our opportunity to get better players. It might not work. That's the reality. And if we bring one over and it works, and we bring two over, I don't know. We're fishing, but we're putting them in the best environment when we get them.
Of course we are, and Castleford have signed that kid who was supposed to have signed for FC, wasn't he? Who was just won Queensland Cup Player of the Year. He might turn into an Edwin Apape. We might get an Edwin Apape. We might get a Stanley Jean in the 90s, another 90s version of Stanley Jean. It might work out, but I don't think it's a big issue that we're only bringing one over. There might just be one player who we see fit that could break into our side. And, obviously, I don't know if it means we're bringing one over from Australia in Jared, but yeah, I know it's tongue-in-cheek about all, but honestly, Rich, I won't worry about what they're doing, mate. Just focus on what we're doing. Let them, if we've bid for every player, aren't we, in their academy or whatever, and we can't produce our own, let it happen, because we can still finish second and they can finish cannon fodder at the bottom with the likes of Cass and London. So, yeah, we'll see. Obviously, it's great to see this PNG lad if he comes over. It's going to be a very, very drastic change for him. But I'm sure people will get around him. And maybe, mate, is this one of the reasons Reece Martin signed as well? Because he's a quality player, but he is a hero in Papua New Guinea as well. So I'm sure he'll be probably his mentor, whoever the young lad coming over is. I don't think maybe that's been mentioned. I've just thought of it then. So I haven't been planning to say that if everyone thinks he's done his research.
No, well, he's going to be, of course, captaining PNG in the Pacific Championship against potentially Australia and New Zealand. And so we'll see what Reece Martin does. And one more question just on X. Joe Irvin, she says, it would be nice to listen to some more female Robins next season, and I 100% agree with that. Joe's going to come on the Robin pod before the end of the season, and if you are listening to this and you are a female, just get in touch. Come on. I'd love to hear from you. It was genuinely, I get sick of listening to men, and I'm sure you do as well. So if you're a female and you want to come on board, please, please, please get in touch. We go over to Facebook, Joe, for the questions. I tell you what, on Facebook, I mean, it's mad on there, isn't it? I can't put all the ones that I get coming across from there because they're a bit left field on Facebook. Don't know if it's the age demographic. Anyway, Bazza Kingston, he says, what's your views on how the club is progressing? Do you see us being in the same category as Wigan and Saints in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, I think us and Wigan, personally. You've got to back it up, haven't you? And even I love what Willie Peters said to Steady after the game about, we're a top 2 club now, but overall, we're probably not a top 2 club. You've got to back it up over certain years. But I will argue about anyone on and off the field. What Rovers are doing is as good as Wigan and better than everybody else in Super League.
There's 2 conundrums, isn't there? There's the on-field stuff and there's the off-field stuff. What we're doing
off-field's probably second to none. Until we get that piece of silverware, on-field will always be second fiddle to a Wigan.
Mikey Carter, Roll KS shirts, we've already answered, I think, about. What's your lads' thoughts on the 2025 home kit? I think we've already answered that. Adam Wadforth, he says, do you think we, as a fan base, took Leeds game as an easy win and took it for granted? Atmosphere was electric for the first few minutes, maybe the best it's ever been at our ground. Probably, yeah. But then as the game was 0-0 for a while and Leeds then took the lead when it went very nervy, do you think we as fans need to be at it more?
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier, didn't we? Do you know what I always think as well? And this is not me saying, I've been there since I was going with my granddad when we was rubbish and I'm a better fan than anybody else. I think as you get more successful, you get younger fans, you get new fans who maybe are still adjusting to what it's like and maybe just are going because Rovers are doing so well. And that is great. It's great to see Craven Park sold out. It's great to not being able to move at times. Obviously, it's a bit frustrating if you lose your place, if you go for a beer at half-time or whatever. But you do get that. But yeah, I totally agree. I think there's been times this season where the East Stand has been flat. I think you can hear it different. Obviously, last year I was in the West when I was reporting and it sounded electric every game. Being back in the East this year, there's been certain big games where I thought it has been pretty crap, but then you listen to it on YouTube and on a full game back on Sky, and it sounds absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I think there was a few reasons that we obviously alluded to, didn't we? We knew we couldn't win the league leaders, but I do think we took the game and the occasion for granted, and that can't be, and it won't be the case for the semi-final. It'll be an amazing atmosphere, hopefully plenty of entertainment, plenty of tries, and yeah, it'll be absolutely rocking if by full time Rovers are at Old Trafford.
Lewis Hales on Facebook, he says, next season with Martin coming in, how does he slot into the team? He has to play 80 minutes for me. So does that mean Batchelor has to be taken off for Kalepi, or will Kalepi move to a prop? What's your thoughts?
Do you know what, mate? It's
a big conundrum, that.
It is, because for me, what I think he will do is, starting right now, if I was picking Jared, Mickey Mack, I said about playing Jesse Sue, but now I'm maybe thinking Dean Adley starts prop, Martin, Batchelor and Minnie, and then Sue, Whitbread, Tanganoa and Jez on the bench. And that is a very, very good pack and bench.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, Joe. Willie Peters is ruthless.
Oh, yeah. If someone's not pulling the weight.
With the fall guy, I think Whitbread will then just be not binned off. I don't want to say that.
What, like moved into that third prop role?
Yeah, just moved. Just the props, the evolution of the props. It's just
because again, you've got to think. You've got underneath that, you've got Luckley, Jack Brown, Doro, Tennyson, Fishwick. Exactly. And Leo's been playing extremely well in the for Featherstone and for the Resis this year. He's definitely one to watch. He's getting better all the time. Obviously signed a new deal this year, didn't he? And yeah, Luckley and Jack Brown will be maybe listening to this thinking, no, I'm going to be on the bench or I'm going to be starting. It's great to have, mate. And then when we speak earlier about having to lose certain players, you have to, don't you? Because we couldn't be saying we've got them and Matty Staunton and George King. That's physically impossible. Yeah,
he's 3 more questions, Joe. Paul Nelson, red or brown sauce and a bacon butty. Easy for me. I'm going brown because I like a little bit of fruity.
Yeah, I like a bit of HP. Yeah, brown.
Well, you can tell you're doing well in your new job. HP. I'm the Aldi brown.
It's from the bank of my dad.
And then someone, Joe, who I know you're very familiar with, Leonard Gregory, the Robin Brothers. Seriously though, only 4 of the stars. Who do you wish to play? There is only one. I don't, because of their raw physicality. No, he doesn't say who that is. And I'm not sure.
I think he's on about Lee there. I don't know. I'll play anyone. most likely is Warrington, who I'd like to play for a personal reason, Salford, who I'd like to avoid, Lee.
Yeah, and then the last question, can you pay on the gate with cash for the semi-final?
No, you've got to use your Coldplay tickets to get in, but only if you bought it for £1,000 that I saw earlier on Viagogo to watch it from the West Stand upper.
Well, I tell you what, mate, I'm selling tickets from the railway track that goes behind Craven Park. So if you want to come and stand there, you know, you can get a ticket off me for about £5.
I'm putting Alpha Mags' house on Airbnb for £2,000, so I'll just sit and listen to it in their garden.
Yeah, and you don't even have to buy a beer; you can just set your own.
No, we'll just bring some. We'll get some tinnies from Marfleet shops. Everyone's a winner.
Yeah.
On a serious note, though, we haven't covered that, have we? And they're not my cup. I like them. I think I can appreciate how good they are. They're not my favourite band of all time, but what a coup that is, mate. Honestly, I couldn't believe it.
I tell you what, it's amazing, isn't it, that Craven Park's become a warm-up gig for Craven Park, for Coldplay, which is one of the biggest bands in the world. Not only that, the capacity is 25,000 people.
Yeah, it's great, but
Well, if you want to get home before 12 o'clock, I won't be booking a taxi.
No, I won't be. I think Chris Martin's seen Dr. Jive return for the Retro Day last year and thought, you know what, I want a bit of that.
Yeah, well, there you go. You know what, in future, that I did think when they announced Coldplay that there'd be, you know, like they did with other bands before, where they walked onto the pitch and they've been playing. I didn't realise they'd be playing a full concert.
I know. They're still saying special guests, aren't they? I mean, I don't know what it'd be, but how good would it be if it was Eurasia?
Well, yeah, we're trying to discover, don't we?
Maybe, or Paul Eaton or someone like that. You know, that'd be great, but I'm sure it'll all come out in due course. And yeah, fantastic to get, you know, Craven Park warm-up gig for Wembley, for 4 nights at Wembley. Arguably the biggest band in the world at the moment. So yeah, fantastic. Great to see, and long may it continue these events. Not bad for 2 stands and a burger van.
Joe, it's been a pleasure and a privilege to have you back on the Robin Pod. Hopefully next time you come on, we're talking about Super League Grand Final winners. You know, who knows? But for now, this has been the Robin Pod Weekly, which is powered by Budget Size Auto Centre, the only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. For now, live, love, laugh and be happy.